right, it's a fun time here. 1-0. 1-0 for the boys. 1-0. Yeah, I mean, we get our rightful spot back on Friday. Friday drop off here for showing BK, and we get to kick it again with the people coming off the dub. They've got this long little break. It's a nice little thing. And listen, they're playing the Cincinnati Bengals. And I'm not going to lie to you, and I've talked about it, I still have a little PTSD. But I know I have that with the Bengals. But I'll be honest with you, I have been concerned about how the Chiefs are going to approach this game. Because if you look at this, fellas, I mean, they just lost to the Patriots, man. I mean, that is a doo-doo team. There ain't no I don't know the Patriots going to win 4. They lost 16-10 every way. I feel like they had 2 touchdowns that seemed like they were touchdowns. Either somebody fumbled in the end zone or on the way to the end zone, or it was reversed and it wasn't a touchdown. Like they just lost to the sorry Patriots. And I know the Chiefs saw it. T. Higgins looks like he's not going to play. The Joe Burrow can't grab Gatorade bottles and squeeze them. He's flexing and twisting his wrist all the time. Says he's fine, but clearly it doesn't look like he is.
His wrist hurt.
Yeah, his wrist hurt. And I just look at this and I'm thinking, oh, God, this looks like a low-intensity start. This looks like let's just ease our way in. Let's just do enough of what we need to do, because I don't think this team can actually beat us, even though it is the Cincinnati Bengals. And I would argue with the Bills and maybe even the Niners, because they've met a lot, that this is the rival for them. I was really concerned until, thank you, Bengals. You can always count on them dummies to come out and get somebody going. Thank you, Bengals. I promise you, I was sitting there praying, Jamar, say something. Come on, say something. Jamar Chase, please say something, because he's the one to do it. Somebody say something. But no. Old Cam Taylor Britt came out and said it first. Let me read what he had to say. He said, on Chiefs wide receiver Xavier Worthy, who put in that work, impacted the game in a major way week 1, 2 touchdowns over 20 yards. Speed. What's he bring to the offense? Speed. That's about it. He can run straight. Except for that reverse. He can run straight. Run jet sweeps and just straight run. He can't do much else. And that's about it. And I said, yes. Thank you. The boys are going to get woke up. And Jamar said, no, Cam, I got you. That fool said everybody knows it. We're the team to beat in the AFC. The team that just lost to the damn Patriots at home is the team to beat in the AFC. Thank you. Thank you for the wake up. Head to Arrowhead. This ranks right up there with Burrowhead. This ranks right up there with all the stuff they said. Thank you. Now I feel like they done pissed off 1-5. Now I feel like they done pissed off everybody else. And now Andy might try to hang 50 on them. You remember that time? You remember how much the Denver Broncos used to piss Andy off? And who was the D tackle out of Memphis? The real fast one that didn't really turn out. They drafted early. Oh, come on, somebody help me. The D tackle out of Memphis.
Are you talking about the Chiefs or
yes,
Dontari Poe? Are you talking about the Poe?
Yes, Dontari Poe. Do you remember when
Heavy
Andy
Pig Rider or whatever it was?
Yes, with Andy, while they were beating the brakes off the Broncos, Andy said, hey, let's go put him in refrigerator Perry style and get him a touchdown and really run up the score and put it in their faces. That's what Andy's going to do. Andy's going to get the ball to not even Chris Jones. It's going to be Noddy. Noddy's going to get a carry in for a touchdown because Andy's going to really shove it down their throats. I love it. Thank you, Bengals, for being idiots. Thank you. Woo!
I love this rivalry so much. It's my favorite thing going in pro sports right now. Like, Ron, we are at a place right now, like, Red Sox, Yankees doesn't really matter. Cardinals, Cubs isn't really a big thing. Like the NBA doesn't necessarily have like one rivalry right now that you're looking at and being like, that's the one that everybody tunes in for. The NFL is the same thing. Like right now in the league, there are not clear, like at the top of your division, like Seahawks 49ers was a thing. It's not really that way right now. And so you've got to find something. What is the rivalry right now in the league? And the answer is Chiefs Bengals, dude. These teams hate each other. And I think it's genuine. I don't think these teams like each other at all. And I think the Bengals, and now I don't think this is fair or justified, but I think it's true. I think they genuinely believe that they are the better team and that they are disrespected by the media and that it's blasphemy in their minds that people are legitimately picking the Chiefs to beat them now that the Bengals have a fully healthy, maybe, version of Joe Burrow again. And that, to me, like these two teams clashing the way that they do is everything that I love about pro sports and what I think pro sports are missing right now. I love the pregame trash talk. I think we need more of this in professional sports. And I'm so glad that Cam Taylor-Britt came out, a guy that I, like, before this week legitimately forgot was on the Bengals, and said the thing that got us all talking once again about this game. It's perfect. It's perfect. It's exactly what this game needed. And I'm so glad that every time these two teams meet, there is something that is said that is absolutely ridiculous and gets everybody's attention. It's great.
See, Steve, I want to sit right here. And I don't know how you feel about it from what he said that the Bengals really believe that. I think there was a time, fellas, that the Bengals did believe that. I think that Jamar Chase and the rest of them are lying. I don't think they believe they're better than the Kansas City Chiefs right now. I think there was a time that they did. I don't think that I think Jamar Chase thinks he's the best player on the field. I don't think that Jamar Chase thinks that they are the better team. I think they are saying this to try to get themselves riled up at this point. I think they're doing this out of their fear of them getting their asses kicked by the Chiefs. There's no way you can't come off of losing to the Patriots like you did and not have T. Higgins and then see what it's been here of late. Y'all couldn't beat a hobbled Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship game. I do not believe. I think there was a time. I don't think that time. I think they're lying, Serda. I think they're gassing themselves up.
See, I think they are lying, but I don't think that they're aware that they are lying to themselves.
Oh.
Like I think that they believe they are better, but everyone else is just like, hey man, you guys gotta chill out. Like we aren't good enough this year to go up against those dudes. I know it's only week 1, but like we might not have the talent this year to be doing that. And they have been coasting off of an AFC Championship game win that was the worst half of football we've ever seen Patrick Mahomes play. And it's like, it somehow built up this Bengals team to like this big bad team that you're supposed to be fearful of year in and year out. And I think they are good, but I don't think that they're going to be that good this year. I don't think they're a team to fear this year. I didn't understand the preseason like Super Bowl hype for Cincinnati. Like I look at their roster and I see holes all over the place that make me want to say like, yeah, I just don't really see it. And then Joe Burrow with this, like the last thing they need to be doing is talking trash to Patrick Mahomes.
I don't think Orlando Brown believes that they're a better team. I don't think Alex Kappa believes they're a better team. I don't think Logan Wilson comes to me off as a realist. I don't think Logan Wilson looks over there and thinks that they're a better team.
You didn't know who Logan Wilson was before you looked at their depth chart. Stop.
That's not true. I know who 5'5" is.
Yeah, he hurts players every
year. Yes. He wears that paint. I know him. Actually, I think he's pretty good. I think he's a poor man, Mike Milano. And yes, white linebackers, that has something to do with it. It's the comparison. But
you mean Mike
no, I don't think some of them are. I think some of them are thinking, God, would you all shut the hell up? Hell, I just couldn't handle we couldn't handle Stevenson. You think we're gonna roll in the Arrowhead? But I do think, BK, that this is how there are some guys that have to get themselves going like this. I don't know what Cam Taylor-Britt's doing. I really don't. I don't know if that's like Eli Apple stepping out and just talking trash like he used to. But I think Jamar has to do this and feels like, let me put some pressure on myself to do this. I don't believe they feel that way. Liars.
I think they believe it, and I think it makes for better and more entertaining television for all of us whenever they do it this way. The other thing about it, man, is it just makes it that much sweeter whenever these two teams play if the Chiefs are able to get the win. And something that's unique about this specific matchup between the two teams, Ron, most of the time that these teams have met, actually every other time, it's been in December or January. Like, it's late in the regular season. You'll see them week 13, 14, 15, even into week 17 at times. This year, you get them in week 2. And Serda, like, I do agree. I don't think this is a great Bengals team, and I don't think they're going to be like a 12, 11 win team. But I think they could win 9 or 10 and get into the playoffs, and then it's the classic, like, oh, nobody wants to see them type of a team. This is when you want to get them. If ever there was a time where you want to get the Bengals, it's right now. They were 0-2 to start out the year in 2020, 1-1 with their overtime victory as the one win in 2021. They started 0-2 in 22 and 23, and they've started obviously 0-1 this year. 1-8 through the first 2 weeks over the past 5 seasons. You get them week 2 this year. This is the time where you want to get them. They're typically coming into the season stumbling. Their offense, for whatever reason, can't get it going until like week 6 most years anyways. The running game takes forever to get on track. And then finally they start committing to it. Joe Burrow gets healthy, and then boom, they're off and running. This is the perfect time to get a team like the Cincinnati Bengals. You want them early.
Yeah. They've always struggled early in the season because Burrow has traditionally throughout his NFL career never been healthy going into a season. They always start slow. And then I am interested this season to see if they can turn it around the way they have all those other years and bounce back after the slow start, because they had Brian Callahan last year, who I think is a good offensive coordinator. I don't know if Zach Taylor can make the adjustments that he was getting from Brian Callahan to help turn those offenses around later in the season.
By you saying all those years, you mean those 2 2 years where they had slow starts and they turned it around. those couple of years. I listen, I look at this and I watch that game, and I mean their pass defense may be as bad as their run defense, to be frank with you, and just Jacoby Brissett and those middle schoolers that he has at receiver couldn't take advantage of it, but they ran it down their throats. And the way that the Chiefs played offense out there last Thursday against the Ravens, it feels like the offense should just potentially run roughshod in this game. Like this feels like a big high offensive output game, especially now they're pissed.
Ron, you have asked maybe a dozen times over the past couple of seasons that we've been doing this show together, is this the week that we see the fireworks? You've been wanting it forever. You've been wanting to see it basically post Tyreek. And the answer has almost at every turn been no. This Chiefs offense did not have the fireworks. And last week, we saw a few fireworks. Now, it was still mostly we're gonna be efficiency monsters, right? We're gonna drive the ball down the field, but they had 2 touchdowns of more than 20 yards. They had 4 all of last season. That is the Xavier Worthy effects that we saw on the field, tangible in week 1 against the Ravens. This is a defense that can be had both through the air and on the ground. So I'm going to ask you the question that you've been asking us for 2 years now. Ron, are we finally going to get to see the Chiefs fireworks again?
Oh, hell, I think we saw them last week. I don't know what you're talking about. That Xavier Worthy reverse, that's worked. Fireworks. Him in the middle of the field, Rashee Rice going for big, huge chunks in the middle of the field. Oh, that's fireworks. Oh, it's back, baby. It's back. We're here. They haven't even got Wood Brown yet. It's back. The fireworks is back. I expect them. I expect a 30-point outfit effort. This feels like 30, 35, maybe even 40 points this week. I'd be sorely disappointed, especially now that old Cam Taylor-Britt ran his mouth. This feels like a 30, 35-point performance. And I'll be honest with you, I felt like that could have been out there on Thursday against the Ravens defense that we think is the Ravens defense that's a lot better than what the Bengals are going to put out there. So I think the works is back.
This is so much more fun. Oh my God, did I miss this? I miss the ability for us to be just like swaggeringly confident going into these kinds of games about the offense. The Bengals might also put up 34 in this game. It's possible, I suppose. Jamar Chase might go for 200 yards. Who knows, right? He's that kind of a player. But to be able to go into these games knowing like, all right, they've got an offense that can go toe for toe no matter who the opposition is, whether it's the Bills, the Texans, the Bengals, whoever it is. Oh, man, did I miss this? I missed this opportunity to go into each and every week knowing that Patrick Mahomes is probably thrown for 300 through the air and knowing that at any point they can strike through the air for a 50-yard gain. Oh, I missed it.
Any point. And wait till they're full. Wait till they're completely whole. It's crazy. No, the fireworks are back. All right, speaking of fireworks, what are we going to see? When the Chiefs get the ball, we do it every week when the Chiefs get the ball, and this week when the Bengals get the ball. Let's start with the Chiefs. I liked, as we just talked about, the offense. It was fun. One of the things that occurred, though, they ran it and got some hard, tough yards. Pacheco did when they needed to, but they didn't run the ball well. And maybe you want to say, hey, that's that Ravens defense, but I would hope they run it a little bit better than they did. Hell, Mahomes didn't even really check in running the football, and he seems to be good for in games like that for a good 30 yards or something. But they didn't run the ball as well, and especially now when you look at the Patriots, hell, I think the Bengals knew all they could do was run it, and that's all they did, and they still ran it down their throats with Stevenson, who had a great game. So that's the one thing I would like to – I'm not saying they need to just run it, that they need to be the damn Titans with Derrick Henry or anything, but I just want I want to see them run it better.
I also think that the league right now is going through a bit of a transition, Ron. And we've seen this happen for the last couple of seasons, but it is it's like reaching a new height right now in terms of teams running almost exclusively cover two. I saw there was a stat earlier this week, 60% of the snaps among all NFL defenses have been cover two so far this season and through the first week. As recently as 3 years ago, that was 35%. So they like doubled the amount of snaps that are taking place that are cover two, which means the teams are trying to take away all of the deep stuff. They're trying to get you to go underneath. And how do you get out of that? Well, Ron, we've been talking about this for 4 years now in Kansas City. The rest of the league is just finally catching up. They're playing everybody the way they've been playing the Chiefs for all this time. It's run the football and take the underneath pass and get that yards after catch going. In a game like this, when everybody is playing that way, you got to continue to run the football. And we know Pacheco is capable of it. This offensive line should be capable of making holes against this particular defense. You don't have to run it 30, 40 times. That's not what we're asking for. But can Pacheco get 15 touches, add another 5 or so that are split between Carson Steele and Samaje Perine, get yourself 20 to 25 over the course of the game? I think that's doable. And if you do that, you should finish the game with 100 plus yards on the ground, and it opens everything up for you in the passing game as well. So I think this is a more balanced game plan than what we've seen from the Chiefs at times in the past, especially against this defense. I'm fascinated to see what Big Lou does against them and seeing how he plays against them, because we've seen in the past, he's been the guy that comes out and sets the formula for other defenses the rest of the season. But I do think a big running day is in the cards for the Chiefs.
Yeah. I don't think that the typical formula that has worked so well for the Bengals is going to work this week, because that's the difference between this year's team and past year's team, where even with Tyreek Hill at his peak and Travis Kelce, like, Chiefs couldn't run the ball particularly well. And so you zone in and you just try to shut down Kelce and Tyreek Hill deep. And then Patrick Mahomes has trouble settling for the underneath and intermediate stuff because he wants to force the ball down the field. Like, he's not that player anymore. And now they actually have options. They can run the ball down their throats with Isaiah Pacheco. They can, if the Bengals decide to start playing up more because the Chiefs are running the football all over them, then hit Rashee Rice over the middle, hit Xavier Worthy deep. Like, they have answers now and options in a way that they haven't even had at the peak of their offensive excellence. And I think that's going to be a problem for Cincinnati. And it is going to start with the run game, because the interior of the Bengals defensive line is maybe one of the worst interiors in the NFL. So I think you can run on them, and that should open things up down the field. And I think that Patrick Mahomes is a more patient player now. He will take what is available until something opens up, and then he will take the shot. And I think we're absolutely going to see that on Sunday.
Yeah, they got guys that want to be pass rushers, and Sheldon Rankins and BJ Hill. They want to rush the passer, not necessarily sit in there and stop the run. That's exactly what my approach was when I was in high school. I'm just rushing the passer every time. Rockhurst runs it 100 times, rushing the passer every time, just opening it up. And then Tony Temple ran me over in the hole one time. I don't like to talk about that. Tony, you may not remember that you were running over a star, but you sure did. You ran right over my ass, and I went for the ride. But it doesn't feel like this should be a game in a time in which they should be more balanced. This, generally, there's going to be some games where, hey, man, Patrick Mahomes, this is going to be a 70-30 team. This is going to be a 60-40 game. This one feels like because of what they can do with the Bengals, this feels like a game where it should be more balanced. And because Pacheco, it feels like you get him early. This is a game in which Pacheco, like, he's a guy you don't want to tackle in the late third and fourth quarter. And the game might be over by that time anyway. But this is that you just kind of be more balanced to me in this.
And the Bengals didn't like to tackle last week. Like you mentioned, what the Patriots were able to do in the running game, a lot of that was just because of missed tackles, dude. They just looked disinterested in tackling. They looked like those Bob Sutton Chiefs defenses that you just knew they were going to get run all over, and there was nothing you could do about it. And it was just so deflating to watch. That's what the Bengals looked like last week against the New England Patriots. And that is not a very good offense. They have zero talent at wide receiver. You said they were middle schoolers. That's almost some disrespect to the middle schoolers that you're talking about with what they're throwing out there at wide receiver right now. It's bad, dude. Those are not professional options for them. And they've got Jacoby Brissett at quarterback, who's, again, not a professional NFL starter. So you now go from that to the threat of what the Chiefs have at wide receiver with Travis Kelce in the passing game as well. And now Patrick Mahomes back there. You got to respect all of that, and the running game's coming at you. Dude, good luck. This is the type of game where, like, if you're playing daily fantasy this week, I want Isaiah Pacheco in all my lineups. That guy's going to have a monster game.
You know what? Also in this game, I think this is an actual real test for Kingsley. Trey Hendrickson, like, I know being Serda, we talked about it, their defense is down. Even though Lou is like a Patrick Mahomes whisperer that kind of makes me nervous, but their defense is down. Sam Hubbard is fine on the other side, but Trey Hendrickson is their over this run has been like their one star, and he's given Orlando Brown, when he was here, problems and giving the Chiefs problems. This is a guy at 17.5 sacks. He's been a Pro Bowler the last 3 years and has been above 13 sacks the 3 out of the last 4 years. This is a guy who is unique in terms of his bend and how he comes around the corner. And this will be, right, by far the best pass rusher that Kingsley has had to face preseason or not. This is be honest, coming from the outside, he's probably better than any pass rusher that the Chiefs can employ, that he's maybe faced in practice at this time in their careers. So that is one to watch, is how Kingsley performs, because he gave up a sack last week, but I think he was pretty good. He sent Kyle Van Noy to complaining and out of the game, to the Chiefs medical department.
The Chiefs drive these teams insane, man. Like, these teams can't help themselves. Like the Ravens, we haven't even talked about this. The Ravens go out there and you've got Isaiah Likely saying, like, yeah, I can't wait to see them in the playoffs if that's the best they've got. What? And then Lamar's like, no, right. His touchdown was clearly a touchdown. Like, what are you guys talking about?
That was that was the best the Chiefs have. That's what it is. Week one. If this is the best they have for seeing the playoffs, good call, champ. Won't you get a smaller foot?
Anyway, so yeah, Trey Hendrickson going up against
you. No, this is big for him. Yeah.
It's a massive test, dude, and to me, it's the number one storyline in this game. And I'm talking about on either side of the ball for the Chiefs, because this game is about more than just the here and now. You're also kind of using it as a measuring stick for the long term. I'm really curious to see what Andy does, because typically what he's done in the past, when he's kind of finding out what his offensive tackles are capable of, He'll leave them on an island early in the season, like the first month. He's going to give them the leash to see, okay, what can you and can you not do? Let's see what we can get away with. And then we'll start throwing more help your way as we get closer to like the second half of the season. Well, Kingsley week 1 was like on an island the entirety of the game. And I think you're right, Ron. I think he was mostly fine. He wasn't a massive liability. And for a rookie in week 1 against the Baltimore Ravens, that's a win. You'll take it. Trey Hendrickson is a different kind of test, man. This dude has had so much success against the Chiefs in recent seasons. Since 2020, he has played in 6 games against the Chiefs. He has 4.5 sacks, and he has hit the quarterback 13 times in those 6 games against the Kansas City Chiefs. He's a monster, and he almost exclusively lines up against the left tackle. So it is going to be Trey Hendrickson against Kingsley Suamataia all day long. I want to see what that matchup looks like. And for the Chiefs' sake, I want to see Kingsley win more often than not. And if he does, Chiefs offense should be in really good shape in this game.
I talked about it on the post-game show, and I think Kingsley's first performance had some ups and downs, but in his first career NFL game for a second-round pick who was a day 1 starter at left tackle, I think you should be absolutely thrilled with the results of the Chiefs' week 1 performance in their rookie left tackle. So, yes, this is a tough matchup, and Trey Hendrickson is a problem, but I do think that the Chiefs saying against the Baltimore Ravens, like, you're on an island, you're our anchor out there, go handle business. And it was filled with ups and downs, and I don't think they can do that against Trey Hendrickson specifically, but I think the early returns on Kingsley are like, yeah, he's exactly who the Chiefs build him to be, and I think we should be excited about it. I don't know. I think he still has ways to go and obviously improvement to make, but that's definitely a matchup to watch. You just don't want to see him getting dusted by Trey Hendrickson all day.
Yeah, but let's not big chest this thing, right? I think that's a part of the key that we just talked about before. Running the football will help him with Trey Hendrickson. If you're running the football well with some success, that will slow him down and like just give him different looks. There will be some times in which he needs to be alone and you got to leave him on an island. But that don't mean you just test it and just say, hey, man, let's just see what we can do here, Jack. Let's see if Kingsley's got it. No, you can chip. You can chip some. You can do a few things, right? And because, I mean, there will be times, but this shouldn't be just no deal of, yo, man, we got Trent Williams over there, man. You hold it down, and we're just going to keep rolling. No, mix it up a little bit. Chip him, do some things, and you just can't – and that's the big thing. You just can't let him take control of the game. Like you just can't let him just ruin the game, which he's capable of doing. And we've seen him ruin drives for the Chiefs in these games. So I believe in Andy, and I believe in Andy and Andy Reid and Andy Heck, that they will have a game plan together that doesn't allow Trey Hendrickson to beat them and allows Kingsley to operate in the best position possible for him to succeed. So I'm pretty good with it.
Ron, if there's a concern for the Chiefs offense that you had coming out of week 1, it seems to be something that we've been talking quite a lot about. And it's not like a fatal flaw or anything, but it's something that you've been looking into. What do you want to see out of the Chiefs in the red zone this week?
Yeah, we saw way too much of Harrison Butker. To be honest, I mean, and you know, we just saw way too much of Harrison Butker on the field. And if you look at it, to be honest, I mean, technically they didn't get any scores in the red zone. I mean, it was a 21-yard reverse for Xavier Worthy. So that is a yard technically outside of the red zone. And then the other one was a big play down the field, 35 yards down the field. So they actually, in terms of touchdowns, when they got in the red zone, they were over, right? They had to kick field goals when they were in the red zone. So for me, that's been a problem before. And like, I hope that we do get to see them clean that up, because I can say the Ravens defense, they've got guys that are unique there that can cause you problems in the red zone. And so that's one thing. The Bengals shouldn't cause them problems in the red zone. And now you would look at this and say, well, okay, this is This is something that was an issue last year. I mean, we were seeing Butker come in 5-6 times. The last time they played this team, Butker kicked at least 5 field goals against the Bengals to win that game. We saw him kicking, having to end in 3-point kicks a lot last year. And I think there could be some things to point to. Right now, they have a lot of small receivers, and for some reason, it's not like Rice is somebody that is able to get matched up one-on-one in which they feel like getting the ball to him. They weren't able to get it to Kelsey because I think obviously people are keying in on Kelsey, especially down there in the red zone. Andy's going to have to get, creative down there, and they got to, and obviously they got to run the ball well too down there to get that. So that's a big thing I'm looking at is what happens inside the 20. What happens in the red zone? Are they more efficient in the red zone? Because that was when the Chiefs were really rolling before this lean year and this weird stuff. Like their touchdown clip in the red zone was high. They were scoring once they got in the red zone 6s and not 3s.
The other thing, like you look back at that game against Baltimore, on one of their drives that stalled inside of the red zone, it was immediately a hold that put him into a 1st and 20 situation. And it's like, well, it's just incredibly difficult to convert that into a touchdown. It was 3rd and 9 at the 13. They had to kick a field goal a couple of plays later. The other one that stalled out, a couple of incomplete passes, and then boom, you're kicking a field goal on 4th down. You just have to execute, man. Like no penalties in the red zone and execute. This is what we've been talking about for this team for years. If they don't commit the self-inflicted wounds, they are a team that can continuously move the ball. And this year you have the ability to score from outside of the red zone. Like you can finally have those explosive plays that result in touchdowns, and that's huge for them as well. But yeah, once you get down there, a healthy dose of Isaiah Pacheco is something that's going to help them a lot because it puts you into 2nd and 6, 3rd and 3 types of situations, and it just keeps you ahead of the sticks.
Yeah.
All right. When the Bengals have the ball, for me, listen, I still have the ghost and the fear of Joe Burrow that is still in my mind. But man, I look at this, and this to me feels like it should be a game dominated by the defensive line of the Chiefs. I'll be very disappointed, especially when I watch the Patriots do to that offensive line. I'll be very disappointed if the Chiefs' defensive line doesn't impact this game big time. And I thought they were, especially for week 1. Now, when you get later in the second half, in week 1, when y'all ain't been playing and you got to run around and chase Lamar, you got to run around and chase all the short stuff the Ravens were doing. I think obviously it let up a bit, but this D line, man, that first half, that first 3 quarters, when they had their win, they got a bunch of dudes. They ain't even completely 100% healthy yet. Wharton was really, really good. George is solid, stepping up in another year. Chris Jones is Chris Jones. That first half, they could do nothing with him. And in the second half, he was still getting pressure too. A lot of people talk about those throws that Lamar should have hit, and I'm not saying he shouldn't, but he was also avoiding and trying to get away from Chris Jones on a lot of those throws there late in the fourth quarter. So this D-line, Mike Dana was something else. Like in the run game, Derek Nottie was really good up front. This D-line, I'm not going to get too crazy yet with it, fellas, and I'll give it some time. But as important and as impressive as the secondary was for the Chiefs, who won it all last year, I feel like it may have shifted, and now Spags has created another great defensive line that he has multiple dudes that are starting caliber guys. How about FAU? Huh? How about Felix? He came out there and looked like a contributor and looked like somebody to come off the bench and went down there and took that football on that fumble recovery while Chris Jones was hurdling people as if the play was over, but it was still going on. Like I loved what I saw from this D-line, and they're gonna get after that ass. I mean, this to me, this is Foolish Club now. We could say ass. Get up out of here. This to me, Steve, I think this could be a dominating performance from them.
Yeah, I think it absolutely should be. Chris Jones was just so impressive in week 1. Like,
dude, he was hunting matchups. I loved seeing that. He was like right before the snap saying, I want that guy. And then he'd go over to that hole and immediately just shoot the gap. It was amazing.
Can we get it a little quicker though? Like, can we make the decision a little quicker? Sometimes he's standing there.
That's what you don't want to do. You don't want to do that, because then if you make it quicker, they have a way to be able to pass things off, and like suddenly you no longer get the matchup you're looking for. The way that he did it in that game made it more difficult for the Bengals or for the Ravens to be able to prepare for it.
I'm not saying a lot of seconds quicker. I just like, can you get it? Can you be in the stance or close to the stance ready, not standing nearly across the ball? There was one of them, he was standing straight up, and the guy next to him who he forced to move was also standing straight up, and they couldn't get off the ball. So let's just determine it's just a tad quicker.
He was incredible in week 1, and I was just so impressed with him. And the Bengals offensive line is supposed to be better, but I know Amarius Mims has been banged up, and he might not be available this week. And I just think that they match up really well, and I expect them to have another big outing. And Chris Jones, we talked about him so many times over the years, where has these games where he just kind of disappears or fades away. And it's to start the season like that, after last year where he was sitting in the suite in week 1, it just got me really juiced for Chris Jones, because I was like, I don't know, age 30 season, is he going to start to slow down? And he looked amazing in week 1.
He did, and I think we forget how weird his start to the season was last year because of how it ended. But dude, the guy was in the press box or in a suite with his agent watching week 1 last year. And now he went through all of training camp and got a couple of veteran days off throughout. But he went through camp and is ready to go at full force by the time that he's in there in week 1. Last year, I think it was the Jaguars game, if I'm not mistaken, where he was on a pitch count, and then he had to ramp his way up throughout the course of the regular season. He looked awesome in week number 1. And you mentioned, Serda, the fact that Amarius Mims is not healthy right now. What that means is Trent Brown is in there, and he is unplayable at right tackle, dude. He is a huge liability for them. So I'll be curious to see what exactly Spags has drawn up to be able to expose that. And then, we all know the weakness of Orlando Brown Jr. He's fine against the strong pass rushers. I don't know that Karlaftis or Dana or Malik Herring are going to have a lot of success against him. This could be a game for Felix Anudike-Uzomah to go out there and show what he's capable of on third downs. Obvious pass rushing situations, his speed, his get off. If he's able to do that against a guy like Orlando Brown Jr., he might be able to have some success in that regard.
George is going to ignore Chris and act like he doesn't hear him when he tries to force a switch in front of Trent Brown. Or he's going to be like Roger Dorn in Major League when Jake Taylor was trying to get him to come off a first base for the pinch runner after he took no, and he stayed on first base and stretched with him. That's what it. Dorn, get over here. That's what Chris is going to say. George, move. It's me. No, I want Trent Brown. No, I want Trent Brown. You take Alex Kappa. No, you take Alex Kappa. No, I want Trent. But no, this should be dominant. And that's why I'm hoping they have such an impact, because to me, the real scary piece right now, and it looks like Higgins is going to be potentially out for a second straight game. The clear scary piece to this team right now, and this was a team that had many weapons, but right now it feels like Jamar Chase is the last stand. And we know what he's done against the Chiefs in the past. It seems like every time they played him, even in the game that the Chiefs won, he has made big plays and has caused issues with the Chiefs, and that's with L'Jarius Sneed walking around out there. So the Jamar Chase thing, obviously, you just don't want to let him just make enough big plays that it keeps them in the game or beats you. That to me is the big key. If at times the line isn't able to get pressure and get home, how do they handle the Jamar Chase thing? And they just can't let him beat him. Just can't let him.
And this is one of those games that we mentioned this last week, because the Ravens are another team that is this way. But The Ravens really had one guy that can beat you at wide receiver, and it was Zay Flowers. Now, they got the tight ends that you have to handle, and that's not necessarily the case with the Bengals. They have Mike Gesicki, who's terrible. But like they have one wide receiver. I mean, he's played for 4 NFL teams now, I think.
He's
been pretty bad for all of them. He's whatever. They've got Jamar Chase and then a bunch of other guys. Like they've got middle schoolers, to your point, on the New England Patriots. It's the Patriots wide receiver core and Jamar Chase. And so what do you do there if you're Spags? Like, are you going with McDuffie one-on-one? You're just going to go ahead and match them up on every snap? Are you going to double him on basically every snap because it's the rare team that you can actually get away with that? Do you just shade your coverages that direction? That's something that I'm going to be honing in on early in this one is what are they doing against Jamar Chase? Because he's really the only guy that can beat you. He's the only guy that you have to worry about against this version of the Bengals offense with T. Higgins out.
I'm interested in seeing how you feel about this thing, about how they handle him. And the McDuffie, we talked about him sort of kind of chasing the number one. I'm intrigued how you feel about this.
I mean, I want to see Trent McDuffie shadow Jamar Chase. That sounds cool to me. That sounds dope. I want to see what Trent McDuffie can do against Jamar Chase.
Well, Spags is not rolling out here about what that sounds dope. I'm just saying in terms of putting your hat on.
Can you imagine Spags in the defensive meeting room just being
that's dope, man.
Anybody else want to see McDuffie line up one-on-one against Jamar Chase?
Hey, man, wouldn't it be dope? Hey, it'd be dope if we. Hey, it'd be dope. Hey, let's see what it look like if Chris Jones got a piece of it. That'd be dope.
I did love the way they used McDuffie in week 1, like outside, but they moved him around too. It wasn't just strictly like boundary corner. Like he was playing multiple spots, and I think that's what you get in a player the caliber of Trent McDuffie. But like size wise, Jalen Watson's probably a better like just physical matchup for Jamar Chase. But if Trent McDuffie is the all-pro caliber player that we all believe that he is, whether it's inside or outside, I want to see Trent McDuffie match up against Jamar Chase. Jalen Watson can shut down Andre Yosevas or Trenton Irwin or Jermaine Burton, whoever the hell it is, all day long. And I feel totally comfortable with that. I want to see Trent McDuffie go out there and lock down Jamar Chase and show everyone that like he is a legitimate number one corner, whether it's inside or outside. He is one of the absolute best defenders in football.
Them guys showed me something last week. And if you remember on our pod last week, I was saying hey, especially big downs, I want to see him on Flowers and I want to see Shamori Connor on Andrews. And oddly enough, the first play and maybe the biggest play that Zay Flowers got in the game in the first drive, they had that exact matchup, and Zay Flowers got him out of the break and got the big play there. But I just it took me about third quarter, and it was even before Jalen Watson made that great play down the sideline where he got his hand out and he was running stride for stride with Flowers. I just sat there and was just like, you know what? They don't need to force feed this defense to a certain way to protect something because, I mean, these guys are able to play, especially with their help and play with help. And I don't think you just leave Watson out there by himself, man to man, and say, jump on Watson's island. Like, I don't think that would Chase, but I think you give him help. You give him a bunch of different looks. I don't think that the Chiefs, honestly, were forced to do that last year with L'Jarius Sneed. I just think he was just so good and physical at doing it. They did it and it allowed Trent McDuffie to just play wherever the hell they wanted him to play. And I enjoyed. There were times where we saw Trent McDuffie in the slot and blitzing off the slot and doing the things that made him an All-Pro last year. So I like the fact that they are not forced to have to do something. And, sometimes you may want to do that, but you're not able to do that with your personnel. I felt like they were able to do that. It wasn't just a forcing. And we'll see. And I think, obviously you get to take advantage of the fact that T. Higgins potentially won't be out there and it's not Tyler Boyd or somebody else out there that can hurt you.
Yeah, that's the big, T. Higgins missing this game. That offense is completely different with him out there, man. Like just the threat of both of those guys that can go up and get it. We've all seen it. when the Chiefs go up against the Bengals, that the way that Steve Spagnuolo wants an offense to run is he wants them to throw those low percentage balls down the sidelines where, hey, go up and get it 50-50 ball against our corner and let's see who makes the play, right? The problem about the way that that works against this specific Bengals offense when they're fully healthy is that's exactly how they want to play. Like, that's what T. Higgins does. That's how Jamar Chase wins. And so you're kind of playing into their hands in that way. And so it's like the worst matchup possible when they've got both of those guys in there. When it's just Jamar Chase, though, it almost plays into Steve Spagnuolo's hands where, like, you remember the old, what Belichick used to do against the Chiefs whenever they had Tyreek Hill was, like, everybody would say, hey, put your number one corner on Tyreek and then kind of play the rest of your defense elsewhere. And Belichick almost did the opposite.
He would put Gilmore on Kelsey.
Exactly. And then he'd take his number two corner and always shadow the coverage towards Tyreek. So then you've got like a natural double team going against Tyreek, and his number one corner was on their second option, quote unquote. Travis Kelce was an amazing second option, but the second option nonetheless at that point in time. I wonder if that's the kind of thing that we could see Spags do in this game, where you go like, hey, Watson, all day, baby. It's you against Jamar anytime that he's lined up outside. If he goes inside, it's going to be Trent McDuffie. But outside, it's Jalen Watson against him. And Watson, at every single turn, you will have safety help. You will never be on your own. You always have safety help coming behind you. I think that could be an intriguing way that they could go into this game to see kind of how Watson holds up in that matchup.
Yeah, and it allows Trent to roam in the slot. And he's such a playmaker out of that with the way he blitzes, the plays he makes when he tackles. They love to run quick screen stuff too. And he's up there. Obviously, we know what he can do in that. So I like that with the help to me of the line, the defensive line, and how I think they will be getting back to Joe very quickly. And I get the feel that the game also may lend itself to the Bengals having to throw more because of how the score is. With the D line, I think having a chance to beat their offensive line a lot with Joe, who traditionally holds the ball long because he's trying to make plays, and a double team potentially all the time with Trent McDuffie potentially around. I think it could really make for potential big game-changing plays with turnovers and things like that coming from Joe Burrow and the Bengals. So it will be intriguing. I'm sure Spags has got some game plan, and I'm sure Spags maybe have something that we aren't even thinking of that could turn this around. But what I do know of, I am certain, Steve, that Spags isn't going to make himself predictable. I bet he does a whole bunch of different things and gives them a bunch of different looks to try to make plays out of it, which he traditionally does anyway.
I'm sure he will. We saw Jamari Connor do a little bit more of that versatile type of playing too in week one. So that's probably the game plan. I'm sure he didn't walk in and just go, you know what I think would be tight this week? You just manning up Jamar Chase one-on-one the entire game. I'm sure that's not going to happen with Trent McDuffie, but it would be sick.
Okay.
One other thing, just to cap this off on the defensive side of the ball, Ron. It was a bad game last week for Nick Bolton. And when Nick Bolton has a bad game, it looks really bad because we know how he's going to get exposed. It's always in the passing game, and it's always against running backs. If there is one potential concern in this game, it's that Chase Brown is a pretty dynamic running back, specifically in the passing game. So that's something else to keep an eye on. Just watch for that one. It did not go well for him last week against the Ravens. That's to be expected. He didn't have much of a training camp. He's clearly not at 100% right now. So keep an eye on that. Curious to see how that goes this week.
Man, just tackle, bro. I mean, Lamar made a hell of a play on Likely. Just tackle. It's actually decent coverage. But we'll see. All right, Serda, go ahead and grab my music right now. The game that is sweeping the nation, Certified or Impostor. If you are new to Show and BK, presented by Foolish Club Media. By the way, like and subscribe, please. We need you. If you are new, Certified or Impostor, I make a statement. Simply, is it certified or is it imposter? If you would like to go back to last week, I made a clear statement. The two of them said imposter, as I said, hey, Derrick Henry or Isaiah Pacheco will be the most physical back in this game. They said imposter. No, that's Derrick Henry.
Listen, we gave you your props. I tweeted it out. You were right. We were wrong. All hail Ron the show, Hughley. Congratulations, man. You got one prediction right.
I predicted the Super Bowl and the run the last 2 years. By the way, I just want to say that too before the playoffs.
I predicted it too. I just needed a game in the playoffs first.
Birth years, right there. And you tweeted it, but maybe some people of our listeners here did not see that tweet. So I wanted to remind them. I'm just trying to remind them how the game goes. I was correct on that. Nobody's keeping score 1-0, but nobody's keeping score. But here it is: certified or imposter. Joe Burrow is still a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. Joe Burrow, Steve, kick it off, is still a top 3 quarterback in the NFL.
Imposter. I don't even. I'll explain it, but I'm just going to lead right with it. No dancing around in this thing. I think that Joe Burrow, when healthy, is still a talented player, but I have to see him actually look like he is capable of throwing a football and driving it down the field and figuring things out and getting there this season. And I just think that there's too many other talented quarterbacks right now. Like Patrick Mahomes is obviously number one. Josh Allen has set himself apart. I think Lamar has set himself apart. And I would put CJ Stroud up there. I think CJ Stroud is absolutely that talented, and I've seen enough from him to believe that. So I just don't. I have to see it more from Burrow, and he's got to stay healthy. And I just feel like it's been a while since I felt fully confident in Joe Burrow being a truly elite quarterback.
I'm gonna step in before you go, BK. I'm gonna say certified. I'm not going to say the points that you're making aren't valid. This version of Joe, I don't know if he's healthy or not, or how healthy he is. But like the last time we saw Joe was starting to get the Bengals back into it. Like they were starting to roll right before he got injured. And Joe was looking like Joe again. And they walked in and beat the brakes off the 49ers, who went to the Super Bowl as the NFC's best team. Like they were starting to roll again. I don't get concerned or nervous with Lamar, Herbert, Stafford as much, who I think's up there. So I still have him at 3 or in the top 3. And to be honest, walking into the year, I would have had him at 2. But I get what you're saying, and I think we need to start seeing some more Joe, because that started to become a thing now about questioning Joe Burrow here a bit after they had the bad game against the Patriots. But it was a bad game against the Patriots, but then go watch what he did prior to him getting hurt, and he was Joe Burrow. So I still have him as a top 3. I think it's certified.
I think it's certified. I'm not coming off of Joe Burrow Island this quickly. I'm unwilling to do it. Joe Burrow is kind of like, I don't even know that there's necessarily like a great cross-sport corollary. I guess it would be Jimmy Butler. And that like every regular season, I know he's not going to be great. I know. And especially in the first month of the season, that offense just does not figure it out until like week 6. And then they go on a roll, and then they're hitting on all cylinders by the time they get into the postseason, if he's healthy. That is, to me, the biggest caveat here is the health is starting to become a real concern with Joe Burrow, dude. I don't know if he's the same athletically as he once was because of the calf issues that he's dealt with. And I don't know if he can throw the ball the same way that he once did because he had a wrist injury that they can't find any other quarterback in the history of the game that he's dealt with it. In fact, no other skill guy they can find that's had this specific wrist injury. It's only offensive linemen. So the idea that he wouldn't be the same guy after that injury is totally reasonable. And yet I am completely unwilling to count this guy out because every turn, when I've counted him out, the dude, whether it's in game, in season, whatever, he finds a way to come back from the dead. It's unbelievable. And I still Like, he's the one guy that scares me as an opposing fan. The one guy. Josh Allen is there because like he's going to pull something out of his ass and it's going to be wild. And then the next play, he's going to like throw the most ridiculous interception you've ever seen in your life. He's got that in him. Joe Burrow is cold-blooded, man. That guy, when the game is on the line, he wants to be on the field and he's going to make a play. And he's the one guy that I can say that against this specific team. So I think certified, dude. Still top 3 quarterback, even though right now I don't think he's playing like one. But long term, I think he'll be that again.
Yeah. All right. I'm with you on that. Prediction times. I'll kick it off. BK, you can go behind, and Steve, you can close us out here on this. I was concerned about how the Chiefs would come out early in this game, and I do think the Bengals need this, but I do think the Chiefs are up, and I do think the Chiefs are into this, and I don't think they're really into sending messages normally. I don't think they really give a rip about that, but I do think they give a rip about it with these guys. And when Justin Reed and those guys did their talking, and how much trash talk that the Bengals did after they deservedly got a chance to talk that trash after they beat the Chiefs, and Justin Reed was talking like that, I think they'll be into this game. I got the Chiefs big. I got the Chiefs 37-17 in this game. I think we see the fireworks from the offense, and this defense is I don't think they're going to have great success with the pass or the run. So 37-17 Chiefs.
I think this is a game that is going to be incredibly close throughout. And it's going to be really frustrating that it's as close as it is. You're going to feel like the Chiefs are winning big and they're not going to be pulling away. And you're going to be like, why is this still a 7 to 10 point game? And I think the Chiefs ultimately win it 30-20. I think they pull away late and they end up winning this game. But throughout the entire afternoon into the evening, you're saying to yourself, man, we should be up by more than we are right now. Because that's how these games typically go. So 30-20, I've got the Chiefs winning, covering, and it going slightly over the total. Chiefs win in the end.
I really should agree with BK because I feel like I always just way overestimate what the Chiefs are going to do in this type of matchup. But I think they're ready for it. And I don't think this Bengals defense is good. I think the Chiefs are going to win 31-17. And I think the defense is going to give the Cincinnati offense lots of problems. T. Higgins, it seems like he is absolutely not going to play. He's not practiced all week. And outside of that, it's like, okay, who's going to step up alongside Jamar Chase when Steve Spagnuolo is trying to shut him down this entire game? Like, Chase can't do it all himself, especially if Burrow can't get him the ball. I just think the Chiefs defensively are going to be too much for the Bengals on offense, and I think offensively the Chiefs are going to be good enough, and there's going to be some explosive plays. Isaiah Pacheco is going to have a good game, and I think it's a pretty comfortable win for them. I just don't fear this Bengals team right now.
All right, all the way around, Chiefs hopefully get to 2-0 to start this thing, and hopefully they get Hollywood Brown soon, and then they'll be really, really scary. We are out.